The recent tension between Venezuela, the United States, and Trinidad and Tobago has sparked new concerns in the Caribbean region. The government of Venezuela has strongly condemned what it calls a military provocation by Trinidad and Tobago, allegedly carried out in coordination with the CIA. This follows the arrival of a U.S. Navy destroyer, the USS Gravely, at the port of Spain for joint military exercises with Trinidad and Tobago's defense forces, an event that immediately drew the anger of Caracas. According to Venezuelan officials, the timing and nature of these military activities were far from ordinary. They claim that the U.S. and its regional allies are conducting maneuvers dangerously close to Venezuelan waters in what they describe as a coordinated attempt to intimidate the country and destabilize its government. The Venezuelan Defense Ministry announced that it had recently captured a group of so-called mercenaries allegedly linked to the CIA. These individuals, according to Caracas, were part of a plot to stage a false flag attack designed to justify a military confrontation with Venezuela. Venezuela's foreign ministry released an official statement calling the exercises a hostile act and warning that any violation of its air or maritime borders would be met with a proportionate and sovereign response. The statement also accused Trinidad and Tobago of betraying regional peace and acting as a proxy for Washington's geopolitical interests. Officials in Caracas say this is part of a larger U.S. strategy to surround Venezuela militarily and to exert pressure on President Nicolas Maduro's administration through psychological and strategic means. Trinidad and Tobago, however, has firmly rejected these accusations. Its government maintains that the U.S. Navy's visit was a routine, pre-planned training mission focused on counter-narcotics operations, maritime security, and humanitarian cooperation. Washington also emphasized that the exercises were not aimed at any specific nation and that similar missions are conducted with multiple Caribbean partners every year. U.S. officials have called Venezuela's claims of CIA involvement baseless and politically motivated. But despite these reassurances, tensions are clearly rising. In response to what it views as an act of aggression, Venezuela announced the immediate suspension of several joint energy and gas projects with Trinidad and Tobago, a major step back in regional cooperation. These projects, which had been crucial for both nations' energy strategies, now hang in uncertainty. Experts warn that this diplomatic fallout could damage long-term economic stability and increase political polarization across the Caribbean. This confrontation comes at a time when Venezuela remains under heavy U.S. sanctions and continues to face international scrutiny over its political and economic policies. Analysts believe that any escalation could further isolate the country and strain its fragile economy. Meanwhile, for smaller Caribbean states like Trinidad and Tobago, being drawn into the geopolitical tug-of-war between Washington and Caracas poses serious strategic risks. Regional observers are now closely watching how both nations handle the situation. Will Venezuela present concrete evidence of the alleged CIA plot? Will the U.S. and Trinidad respond with more military cooperation, or will they seek to cool the temperature through diplomacy? For now, the Caribbean finds itself once again at the center of a power struggle that extends far beyond its shores, one involving energy, influence, and the fragile balance of peace in the region. If this standoff continues to escalate, it could mark the beginning of a new phase of geopolitical tension in Latin America, one where even small islands become silent battlegrounds in a much larger game of power and politics.